Hey guys, my name is Mark, and in this video we're going to answer 10 random questions I get asked a lot regarding vintage lenses. And it's going to be a very casual video. I'm not going to over edit this thing because I just want to answer these questions kind of like a live stream type deal. So question number 1. Where is the best place to buy vintage lenses? For me, especially in the last 2 years where COVID's been a major thing, my favorite place right now is eBay. The nice thing about eBay is that you can just search for exactly what you want. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, it's very easy to find. My absolute favorite place is, of course, the vintage lens camera sales that we've had locally, just because you get to meet other people in the vintage lens community, and then you get to walk around and like examine hands-on what you're buying. If it weren't for like hands-on testing and picking up a Takamar and looking at it, I never ever would have bought it. So that is my ultimate favorite. But a few other options that are great are check with family and friends, because oftentimes they might have old camera gear that they're getting rid of and you can probably just take it off their hands. And then, I mean, consignment shops are great, or antique shops, which a lot of times you'll find the best deals because half the time the lens is attached to the camera and people don't actually think the lens and the camera are worth that much. So you might get a nice combo for like 20 bucks and you end up with an 8-element 50mm f1.4 on there. So I think that about covers it. I probably missed something, but I'm not gonna overthink it. All right, question number 2. Best camera to use with vintage lenses. Never mind brand, I think best camera type is either a mirrorless camera or a cinema camera. Something that doesn't have an articulating mirror flipping up, like a DSLR kind of thing, because some lenses work, some lenses don't on those camera systems. So for example, the Canon FD lenses don't work simply adapted to Canon DSLRs. You need an adapter with a glass element in it, which both introduces a slight crop and also can compromise the image quality with that glass element. Some lenses, the mirror, when it articulates, will hit the back of some of the lenses. I know the Leica R 24mm doesn't work well on my 6D when I had it. The mirror wouldn't be able to articulate, so it would just kind of hit the back of the lens, which is not a good thing. So in my opinion, the best cameras for vintage lenses are mirrorless, and not only do you have a better functionality because there's no articulating mirror, but you also have the added benefit of EVF options, which can take advantage of manual focusing aids like focus peaking, focus zoom, digital split prism, whatever system that you're using. It just makes manual focusing these lenses a lot easier. All right, question number 3, what are some of the best vintage lenses? So this is a very subjective question, depending on your budget, what you like to shoot, what kind of character you like of these lenses. To accurately say what the best lenses are is a bit tricky to speak on everybody's behalf. I mean, for me, it started out with the super multi-coated Takamars or super Takamars. Like those lenses, the build quality and the optical performance is just amazing. Of course, they have things like radioactivity, which are, that bothers some people. So that might not be the best option for everybody, but because I'm using these lenses for more professional work now, I don't mind paying the added premium for Contax, Carl Zeiss, and even Leica Rs, as well as the rehoused Soviet cinema lenses. Now, one of the biggest kept secrets, I think, in the vintage lens world right now, especially for video, are these Minolta lenses. Like, these lenses are incredible. Not only is the build quality outstanding, the optical performance is really fantastic, especially for video. But I do think that is a lens brand that you might want to look into a bit more. All right, question number 4, adapters. Now, adapters are kind of a way of life when it comes to shooting with vintage lenses. The good thing is they're relatively inexpensive, and for the most part, especially with the mirrorless cameras, most of the time you just attach them to your camera and then they just work. I have heard stories of people saying that they can't get affinity focus on some of the lenses they use, but I think that could be maybe the lens itself, not necessarily the adapter, but I obviously could be wrong with that. It's just, you have to leave a little bit of wiggle room when you're combining old tech with new tech. Now, with some lenses, you can get a dedicated EF mount. I've actually switched over my Contax Carl Zeiss lenses to EF mounts, as well as my Leica Rs, but not all lenses obviously offer this ability, and for those that don't, there's always your adapters. All right, number 5, manual focus. Now, manual focus is a way of life when shooting with vintage lenses, although that might not be the case forever. There are advancements being made with LiDAR technology that are actually introducing a very capable autofocus option with these old manual lenses, or any manual lens. It doesn't have to be old, just manual lens in general. And it looks to be pretty interesting. Until then, manual focus. It's either one of those things you probably love it or hate it. I mean, if you hate it, there is a chance that practice can make you love it. You just have to be willing to put in the work. It's a tough skill to land, and it's not great for everything, but practice does make perfect, and it, at least for now, It is kind of the way. I am curious to see where this is going though. All right, question number 6. What are some limitations when shooting with vintage lenses? I think if you focus too much on the limitations of a lens, it doesn't help you see what you can achieve with the lens, or even thinking outside the box. I know when we test these lenses, we're very boxed in with, are there chromatic aberrations? What's the distortion of the lens? Corner to corner sharpness? What's it like shot wide open? What's the bokeh appear like? All of that stuff. It's good for like testing a lens, but it's not super practical if you're out taking photos or shooting video, especially as a hobbyist. I mean, obviously, dealing in the professional world is slightly different, but probably the gross majority of people who do this are hobbyists. So I wouldn't worry about the limitations of the lens. Maybe through your own testing, you can figure out what they are, and then you can learn to minimize the limitations while maximizing the strengths. That's probably more how I like to see it. So I'm just gonna leave it there because I think that's the best answer. I don't know, what do you guys think? All right, number 7, professional use. So you can absolutely shoot these as a professional. The professional is not the gear. The professional is you. You are the professional. I am the professional. So I'm the one who makes the choice on what gear to use based on what is required creatively from the project. So the field is very wide, from shooting feature films, you know, like Dune, to shooting wedding videos, to shooting corporate commercials for social media. There's so much in this world of video. So like, it's really hard. You can absolutely do it. You are the professional, you decide the gear, and that's what I'm sticking to. So, yeah. Question number 8, G.A.S, gear acquisition syndrome. Yeah, it's a thing, like for sure, with not even just with vintage lenses, with all photographic gear. Especially these days with YouTube, is constantly showing you the latest and greatest gear, and it convinces you that you need it or that you really want it, even though you might not. Like even me, like I'm buying different vintage lenses all the time to test out. I don't necessarily keep them all. And the nice thing with these old lenses is that you can pretty much sell them for what you pay for them, so the loss is minimal, if at all. In some cases, you're making money, depending on how long you keep them and what lenses they are. So I guess the short answer for G.A.S for me is yes, it does exist. Be mindful of it, don't kid yourself on it. Keep what you love and get rid of what you don't love, or just what you don't use. All right, next question. What got you into this? Okay, so what got me into shooting with vintage lenses was my grandpa Holtze was a big into photography and videography. But his dad was big into film. So he was shooting 8mm film, taking it all over the world. And it was just, I just got into this whole family history thing and then just taking all of this stuff and being like, how can I use this now? I don't know, there's some weird thing about keeping that whole thing alive that I was drawn to. So it was personal nostalgia, I think, that ultimately got me into it, but then it was the quality and experience with shooting with that lens or those lenses that fully sold me. And then, you know, I dedicated kind of a YouTube page to it, and that got me to shoot more videos with it. And the more I shot with it, the further down this rabbit hole I went. And then to the point where I'm just like I can expand a division of my production company with these lenses because I love to shoot with them. It's nice to be able to take what I love and be able to do it and expand my business with it. So I think that ultimately is what got me started, was family, and then just the experience it and the love of it, the history of it, all that stuff is what's kept me going and what's gonna keep me going for the next little while. I really don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of this. So that's ultimately why I did it. I started it, and that's why I do it. And this is a bit of a ramble. Is anybody even still here? Is this video any good at all? I have no idea. All right, number 10. Matching set. I do get this question a lot. What set should I get that matches really well? And I think the short answer of that is, I think you should curb your expectation of how these lenses are going to match. They were never really intended to be used as we're using them now. So like that attention to quality wasn't necessarily there for all manufacturers. I mean, this is something that Leica and Contax are very well known for. Just that super strict quality control. As long as you use the right shooting techniques, you can easily match pretty much any lens across the board. Some of the lenses that are radioactive, which have yellowed, that is obviously gonna cause more problems, but the nice thing with those is you can reverse those by using UV light exposure. So There's like a ton of videos online about how to do that. Yeah, so actually the Minolta lenses that I have been testing have had really good color accuracy between the lenses and the Soviet cinema lenses as well. So ultimately, don't consider these lenses as a matching set. I mean, maybe that shouldn't be your focus. If you're trying to color match the set that were never designed for, you're trying to pigeonhole them into something that was never intended. So that's that. All right, so that's it for 10 questions. It was fun to just sit here and just kind of shoot the shit. I appreciate that. Sometimes answering questions is easier than just trying to think of what people might want answered because I'm not in their headspace. Thanks for everybody who submitted questions. I know that there's a lot more I'd like to answer, but I don't want to make this video too long. So maybe depending on how it does, I'll make another one. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice day. Bye.